When we work a cardiovascular system or a cardiorespiratory system, what are we really doing? Well, the goal in cycling, and you'll see this with riders that do this on the when they ride outside, is to increase aerobic capacity. And what does that mean? Well, first of all, you have to understand what aerobic means. And aerobic means with oxygen. On the opposite side, there is a term called anaerobic, which means without oxygen. We'll talk about that in a second. But you want to be able to bring in as much oxygen as possible. And oxygen, obviously, it's in our air. It's about 21% of our air makeup. Most of our air around us is nitrogen, but we're only worried about oxygen because that's really what our body takes in to feed our muscle systems. So, and that's measured in a concept called VO2 max. You'll see this a lot with people doing training and running and cycling. They get measured in labs to see how much oxygen they can uptake, and we'll talk about that in a second. But VO2 max is basically the volume of oxygen, the maximum amount that can be brought into uptake here, and it's measured in milliliters per minute. And so what oxygen uptake is a whole process. It is how much air we can bring into our lungs, then how much that air then gets distributed into the bloodstream through our arteries, using our cardiac muscle, our heart, to pump through our system and to be able to get that blood, which is actually the oxygen is carried through hemoglobin, which is a protein in each red blood cell. And so you're measuring how much those hemoglobins get to where they need to be to your muscles, and use that. And then your muscles, of course, use that. And in return, the waste side of the gas is carbon dioxide, which is delivered through our veins back through the system and picked back up through the lungs again. So that's the circulatory system that we talk about. And so the whole oxygen uptake is about that whole process. And finally, and it really takes about 1 second, really. We suck in air, it gets pumped through our system, and then out comes the carbon dioxide. So anyway, that's what we're looking at doing, is increasing our aerobic capacity, being able to take in that oxygen, maximum amount of oxygen, increasing our overall oxygen uptake, and also increasing our actual blood vessels size. Our heart can increase over time, as well as our hemoglobin counts as well. And we do that through aerobic and anaerobic exercise here on the bikes. And one of the ways to do that is through this concept called HIIT, which is high intensity interval training. And it's a popular type of training now. It can be done off the bike and on the bike. And we do high intensity interval training here on the bike. Simply means you are running, if you're doing aerobic training, you have the ability to take in oxygen and feed your muscle systems. What you do is then, if you go to more advanced training for short periods of time, you go past the point of being able to actually take in oxygen. Then you're going into the anaerobic state. And since your muscles cannot find appropriate oxygen, it goes into a glucose stage where it's utilizing glucose in order to fuel itself. And that's its whole talk in and of itself. But that's done for short periods, and then it's back down. So overall, when you're looking at this entire benefit of increasing aerobic capacity, what does it really do at the end? And this is the most important thing right here. It lowers your active and resting heart rate. It makes it easier for your heart to work. Because when you first start working out, you first start training, you ever notice that your heart's just pounding like crazy, super, super fast? And what you do is, over time, when you're working on your aerobic capacity and you've done cycling for, say, several months, and all of a sudden you're starting to be able to handle the cycling a lot more because you're able to deal with much better oxygen uptake. What happens is that your heart doesn't need to beat as fast then. So your actual active heart rate and resting heart rate will lower. And that's a huge benefit because that way it's not taking the toll on your heart. So anyway, long and short of this is the most important thing, your cardiorespiratory system, increasing aerobic capacity, working on lowering that active and resting heart rate, and being able to exercise longer. And that's what aerobic capacity is. It just really is, gets your body in much better shape and allows you to be able to do many more things for a lot longer time and saving that heart. So anyway, that's the benefit, and we'll talk more about some other things as we go along here. But anyway, come on by and try out one of our Kaiser cycling classes.